Good morning. How are you? Welcome to our church. We brought the kids today to say hello and tell everyone that we miss you. We hope to see you soon, and we hope that you're all staying safe, and we love you too. And this is Limo, big old guy. And this is Griff. Say hello, Griff.
Hello, my name is Barbara Rosen, and I'd like to invite each of you to share in our virtual service today. Please check our website at uutarpon.org to find ways to stay connected with us during this time of isolation. We'd love to meet you and chat with you. Our mission statement and covenant are listed there and also at the beginning of this service. The words for our chalice lighting today are from the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists for the month of August. Breath of the universe, gentle and strong, revive the flame of our resilient souls. Breathe new life into desolate hearts, prisoners of pain and fear of the future. Return to blow over the tumultuous waters of our history and give them a direction. As morning light, remove the darkness from our eyes and inspire the mind to every human being so that it may understand the folly of barriers dictated by ignorance and selfishness. Help us feel free to collaborate on better in the construction of meaning. Bonnie Whitehurst will play for us during our chalice lighting.
We'll now have a story for all ages from Reverend Kristina.
Our story for all ages today is called What Do You Do with an Idea? By Kobe Yamada and illustrated by May Bessam. One day I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered. What do you do with an idea? At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. But it followed me. I worried what others would think. What would people say about my idea? I kept it to myself. I hid it away and didn't think about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea showed up. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit, I felt better and happier when it was around. It wanted food. It wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention. It grew bigger, and we became friends. I showed it to other people, even though I was afraid of what they would say. I was afraid that if people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid they would think it was silly. And many of them did. They said it was no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time and that it would never become anything. And at first, I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea. I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea, I thought. No one knows it like I do. And it's okay if it's different and weird and maybe even a little crazy. I decided to protect it, to care for it. I fed it good food. I worked with it. I played with it. And most of all, I gave it my attention. My idea grew and grew, and so did my love for it. I built it a new house, one with an open roof where it could look up at the stars, a place where it could be safe to dream. I liked being with my idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big and then to think bigger. It shared its secrets with me. It showed me how to walk on my hands because, it said, it is good to have the ability to see things differently. I couldn't imagine my life without it. And then one day, something amazing happened. My idea changed right before my very eyes. It spread its wings, took flight, and burst into the sky. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And then I realized what you do with an idea. You change the world.
I'd like to think of something I never thought before. Just it doesn't happen right away. I'll think a little more. I'll sit for a while, imagine what could be, and a new idea might come to me. Do 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 do. I'd like to think of something new, something fun to do. Maybe solve a problem or fix a thing or two. If I sit a little while, I'm sure I'll see a new idea might come to me. Do 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 do. We'll have some words of inspiration now from Reverend Kristina.
This week's words of inspiration come from a colleague of mine, Tim Atkins, a professional religious educator. This piece appeared in the weekly email reflection on courage and compassion called Braver, Wiser from the UUA. Your ego can become an obstacle to your work. If you start believing in your greatness, it is the death of your creativity. That's a quote from Marina Abramovich. Over the past couple of years, what started off as a hobby has turned into a true spiritual practice, wheel-thrown pottery. I would love to tell you that I picked it up immediately, that I've become an expert potter with showcases and gallery openings and okay, I can't stop laughing at that picture. In fact, I've had some pretty epic failures with my pottery. Almost everything comes off a little off-centered, and often my attempts on the wheel end up with a disaster of some sort. Just last month, when I was trimming a bowl, it flew off my wheel, smashed into another wheel, and the formerly not too bad bowl turned into something that more resembled a pancake. I laughed it off. When I was learning to make bowls, clay ended up coating my arms, my cheeks, my hair. It was everywhere, really. None of the bowls came out like bowls. And I left with a huge smile on my face, despite failure after failure. Because what have I learned? Far and away, the most important lesson pottery has taught me is to not be attached to the final product. There are a lot of places in the process of making wheel-thrown pottery where something different than you expected can happen. You never know how the final product will look after glazing until it comes out of the kiln. Every time I've put a piece into the kiln with a certain expectation of how it'll come out, I've been disappointed. When I don't care much in the end how it looks, I end up pleasantly surprised. I can't be attached to those final outcomes. The process matters more than the product. The process matters more than the product. This is a universal truth in art and creativity, and it transcends every artistic medium, from architecture to YouTube videos. No matter what form the art takes in the end, no matter what artistic medium you use, the process of making that art changes who you are as a person. How we're changed differs from person to person, but we are fundamentally changed by embracing our creativity, no matter our creative outlet. His prayer. May we all take the time to fully immerse in our creative potential, no matter the medium. May we all be reminded that the process matters, not just the final outcome.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots will be close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. My special music today comes from the Teal Hymnal, a song called Everything Possible. And it's written by Fred Small, who first started as a lawyer, then as a singer-songwriter, then as a Unitarian Universalist minister with a parish. Now he's still a minister with the denomination, but instead of having a parish, he is now the co-chair of the Religious Witness for the Earth, which is a national interfaith network dedicated to the public witness on environmental issues, especially global climate change. So here is Everything Possible by Fred Small. We have cleared off the tables, the leftovers saved. Wash the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight. At the end of your knockabout day, as the moon sets its sail to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you in good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. There are girls who grow up strong and bold. There are boys quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some go their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some raise children, some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything that's possible for you. But don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games. Just seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Will be the love you leave behind when you're done. It's time for the offering for the work and the welfare of our church. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button or mail your checks to 57 Reed Street. The entire address is right there on your screen. And thank you. Life is for learning, working, refining, choosing, discerning. All life can be. Reaching higher, digging deeper, growing stronger day after day. Life is worth learning, working, refining, choosing, discerning. All life can be, all life can be. all life can be. Our message of the day comes from Reverend Kristina.
Picture it, Sicily, 1912. If that doesn't jar any memories, this is the iconic way Sophia Petrello used to start stories of wisdom and humor in the late 80s show, The Golden Girls. The stories usually included some innuendo and weren't always entirely relevant to the topic at hand in a direct way, but they were wonderful for breaking tension and generating some laughs. Sophia was a creative, gifted, and quirky storyteller. And one reason for this was the clarity with which she opened her stories. Picture it, similar to Once Upon a Time, or In a Galaxy Far, Far Away, or There Once Was a... These are clear cues that a story is coming up. Sometimes stories are introduced by someone in the story that there's a story coming. I'm thinking of The Princess Bride or The Never-Ending Story, films I watched when I was growing up, or even within shows like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Romper Room, or Blue's Clues. And as I said in my last sermon, one of my core beliefs about humans is that we are storytelling, meaning-seeking, meaning-making creatures. Stories are such an integral part of being human that we often don't even realize that we are telling stories about things. That jerk who cut you off, for example, sure, maybe they are a jerk for cutting you off. Are they less of a jerk when you think that they're rushing to the hospital to get to a loved one who experienced a significant trauma? Same circumstances, but probably less of a jerk. The stories we tell matter for a lot of reasons. And one of them is because the stories we tell, and this is in the context of our cultural setting, also tell us what is possible in stories. This is shaped by larger cultural narratives, social conditioning, habituation, like that the person who cut you off is a jerk. How do we know that? Because that's what the news has told us about road rage, and movies have told us as some part of their plot. Maybe it's true, I don't know. I'll confess, I have thought more than once while driving that someone is indeed a jerk, particularly on the freeway. And I know that there are a lot of other possibilities as well, like the person is rushing to get to a loved one at the hospital. Understanding how we come to the stories we tell about things gives us an opportunity, the possibility to explore and be more creative about those stories. Noticing, how do I know that the person who cut me off is a jerk? And recognizing our emotional and physical reactions to the situation as part of it. Recognizing the story that we've been conditioned to tell about this kind of situation is another part of it. And then opening it up, like unzipping a bag and dumping out the contents, that's another part. And once you started to take it apart, you can do anything you want with it. It becomes like Play-Doh that you can form and shape and twist and mush and put back together and make something completely different with. This matters because it affects everything. When I was helping lead our Safe Zone, which is an LGBTQ plus affirming training for new nurses and other staff at the hospital that I was working for, when I was leading this training, one of the tools we used was a binary, from hyper-masculinity to hyper-femininity at the two ends. We'd ask the people in the training, what do little girls like? What do women wear to work? And other stereotypes. And the answers, every time, would be the same, with little variation. Girls like to play with dolls and play dress up and house. They wear dresses and skirts. Women wear makeup and heels. You know this. Boys, they play with trucks and dirt and guns. And men wear jeans and work out. Occasionally, someone would get upset about the stereotypes because they don't fit everyone. Of course, that's part of what we're getting at. That within this binary that we've imagined is a lot of diversity. And the binary is a pretty underwhelming understanding of our options and possibilities. Changing stories and narratives, reframing the information and ideas we have is a vital skill. One that's opened doors not only for storytelling, but also for science. Think about Einstein's wave-particle duality theory. In architecture, suspension bridges, anyone? Technology. Think about the printing press and medicine, vaccinations. Stories shape our understanding of history too. A new favorite of mine is the narrative that has been created about Henry David Thoreau's time at Walden Pond, published in his book, Walden. Thoreau proclaims that he wants to live divorced from society and does so for 2 years. He writes this beautiful account of living in nature and his observations on life. In fact, the cabin that he lived in was on Ralph Waldo Emerson's property, and he was only able to live there because they worked out a trade. Thoreau had visitors from the society he had divorced regularly, along with being surrounded throughout the year by people picnicking, swimming, ice skating, and cutting. The cabin was a 20-minute walk from his family home. And possibly most notably regarding this time, his mother did his laundry and continued to provide him with food. His writing is beautiful and brilliant. There's absolutely no question about that. His respect for nature as timely as ever. Those soul-stirring questions about a life well lived are truly for the ages. And maybe it's time to let go of that narrative of radical independence and living divorced from society. Stories can give us a frame for tapping into our imaginations. Thinking about the classic children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon, the story of a child with a crayon who decides to take a walk one evening. And he creates this story and drawing that leads him from the walk into a forest with one tree that is protected by a dragon, and on the adventure goes. The story is sweet and funny, and one thing I love about it is that not only does Harold go on adventures created in and by his imagination, he is also able, through his imagination, to get his needs met, to keep himself safe, to have fun, and even get himself tucked into his own bed. Harold's story reminded me of the rules of improv. I've never done improv myself, but I have an acquaintance from high school who does it, so I've learned a little bit from her on Facebook. Watching Harold's adventures through his story, he would start with something moving. Initially, he wanted to take a walk in the moonlight. And then he went from the walk off the sidewalk to a trail to a forest. Each movement, he builds on the scene. He gets to the forest, which has one tree. It's an apple tree, and the apples, he imagined, were very delicious. So he makes sure there's a dragon there to protect the fruit of the tree, and then he gets scared. Each part involves some movement forward. He demonstrates the yes and rule and add new information rule to improv. It's important in improv to always be moving forward. So yes, accepting what has been presented to us and building on it by adding new information. Some of the other rules of improv that are that questions are generally discouraged unless you're adding new information. And being and playing in this moment are encouraged. Being specific and providing details are very good. More and descriptive are the most fun. Like, Harold came across a tree. It was an apple tree. The apples were delicious. So to protect the tree, he added a dragon. And of course, things also have to change regularly. Things keep moving forward. Probably the biggest reason I've not really done any improv is because it scares me. And yes, I know that means it's probably something I should try. I do think that the principles of improv can be instructive to us, though, as a church and as a people in a pandemic, especially as a church in a pandemic. Imagination and play help open us to new ideas. Sometimes it's by picturing things just a little bit differently than we had in the past or present, like by walking on your hands. And sometimes it's by picturing things much greater, bigger, weirder, and wilder than what we've had in the past or present, even what we can imagine for the near future. Although this can run the risk of us being very disappointed, it can also be good as providing a long-term goal that is nothing short of awe-inspiring when achieved. I think about major shifts that have taken place in the LGBTQ+ and disabled communities, for example, just in my lifetime. For LGBTQ+ folks in particular, changes that even 12 years ago I wouldn't have been convinced would have happened in my lifetime, and they're here. I say this knowing how much work there is yet to be done, but still, what we have achieved is amazing. And the disabled community too has had federal protections and law for just 30 years now, and still there is a ways to go. And that was important. As we are stuck in our homes and to keeping away from others in person, it can be easy to fall into depression and anxiety, loneliness, sadness, and even despair. I understand, especially as someone who is a sole human in my home, family several hundred miles away. The pandemic has resulted in isolation at levels we haven't experienced in a long, long time. Some of us not at all. It's obviously hurting people, and in some cases also part of why people are motivated to participate in what is truly risky behavior. We are in every way wired to be together with other people. And we're now stuck in this place where being together can cause great harm, and being apart can also cause great harm. Our best option is to dream and imagine other possibilities. We can't do everything by any stretch, but that doesn't mean we can't be spurred to come up with something that will be helpful. One of my colleagues, for example, is reversing the design of her religious education program and the congregation that she serves so that each child and youth gets a tailored to meet their individual needs program to engage with their families. It's a small program, and she knows that this is ambitious, but it's worth exploring for her in that context. Other colleagues are opening their doors to provide religious education opportunities to those in smaller congregations, and I was able to make a connection about that just today. Some other of my colleagues are trying all sorts of new things with their congregations and this web-based worship experience. I love how much more accessible some things are that people simply refused to allow 6 months ago. What do we do with an idea, after all? We change the world. Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, oftentimes both in turn. And as the pottery wheel reminds us, it may take a little time to get the hang of things, so it's a good practice not to get too attached to the outcome. I know you all are missing each other, and of course you do. And getting together in person is not the best plan at this time. So what do we do? Based on conversations with some of you, I'm planning to try offering covenant groups, which are pre-written sessions that allow participants to explore various spiritual themes more deeply and intentionally in groups of about 8 or 10 once a month. This will help meet some of the needs for deeper connection and spiritual growth and exploration. I know there's interest in supporting growth for families and children and youth, and I'm noodling on that still, as my teaching pastor used to say. What are some other ideas we have? Maybe this would be a time to consider a kayaking group that can paddle along a similar stretch of water about the same time together. And then they can reflect on it in a call. Maybe something else. Another question that we might ask, another approach to take to our dreaming is, what are the things that we most want, need, and long for at this time? And how might we get there? I'll add that while it's important for me to be fostering these conversations, of course, it won't be possible for me to make all of our dreams come true, at least not this first year. And I want you to know that while it may seem like I have the toolbox right now, it's really important to me that I help you all grow both as individuals and as a congregation. I may be your minister, but ministry is not mine alone. We all share it. I have some thoughts about trying to build a little something for different facets of the congregation, including doing some sermon writing development work with those who might be interested. But let's dream about what else we need and dream about how we might get there. Reminding ourselves to hold plans and expectations lightly, or at least with grace, will help. Who knows what will come out of our pottery kiln once we put it in, when they even get in at this point. As we venture together in the same direction, may we also remember our commitments to each other in refusing to sink, that together we rise.
Our final hymn is Just as Long as I Have Breath. It's in the gray hymnal. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dreams and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. Barbara will now give us our closing words for the day.
Our closing words today are by Susan Van Dresser. Let us sing the magic of imagination, by which we know one another and learn the lives of eras gone by. Let us sing the magic of creation, by which we build the world of our soul and teach its wisdom to others, young and old. Let us sing the magic of our lives together, holding and shaping by the movement of breath from heart to lung, all new life that is to come. Go now with singing. Go now with magic in your fingertips. Touch this world with life.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere